So, can I now then introduce and welcome Jamie Driscoll, the Northern Tyne Combined Authority Mayor. The last in-person conference that Jamie attended, he attended as the candidate and then was duly elected. And devolution has and will become increasingly a part of the political landscape of our region and elsewhere, with the prospect of an expanded, devolved authority in the north of the region, and also a Tory mayor, which a lot of people will be aware of in the Tees Valley, who, continually claims to have a stake in the Tees Valley Airport, and importantly in the Freeport on Teesside as well. So it is increasingly becoming an issue. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Jamie.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, sisters and brothers. Apologies in advance. I'm just recovering from COVID, so I might cough my way through some of this, but I am testing negative, so you're quite safe. In 1901, one of the Taffdale railwaymen was victimised for asking for a pay rise. The Amalgamated Society of Railway Servants went on strike, won their dispute, and the company agreed to collective bargaining. But then the company took the union to court and won damages of 23,000 plus costs, 6 million quid in today's money. It effectively made strikes illegal. In 1906, an alliance of Liberals and MPs sponsored by the new Labour Representation Committee introduced the Trades Dispute Act, which changed the law. One of the parliamentary speeches said the purpose of the act was to place the two rival powers of capital and labour on an equality so that the fight between them, so far as fight is necessary, should at least be a fair one. It showed that to fight effectively for the rights of working people requires not just industrial organisation, but also political representation, which is, I guess, why I'm here. This class struggle hasn't gone away. It's changed its form, where once we had good public services, they've been outsourced. Our infrastructure is being asset stripped, outsourcing and privatisation. They were never about efficiency. They're about funneling public money into private tax havens. The people who caused the financial crash have got richer, while austerity has made our people poorer. Money that could have given key workers a pay rise was funneled into dodgy contracts in VIP WhatsApp lanes. While key workers were keeping our country running, the Prime Minister was literally partying. On Wednesday, the Chancellor could have helped working people and stopped millions from sliding into debt and poverty. But he made sure that taxes from rent and dividends stayed lower than the taxes on people who work for a living. But trade unions are not about abstract ideas. They're about making people's lives better in the here and now. So let's talk about what matters to you. Now, how do I know what matters to you? Well, you very kindly put your priorities in a handy booklet of 23 motions to this conference. 9 of these specifically mention working with metro mayors or regional politicians. So let's have a look. Motion 1 from the Cultural Working Group calls for support for the culture and creative sector. We've invested $3.25 million in our Culture and Creative Recovery Fund to directly support freelancers and local firms, including culture and creative zones in Berwick, Newcastle and North Shields, and a total of £10 million in our Culture and Events programme, all of which uses social value clauses to ensure good work as part of the procurement. Motion 4 from the FBU opposes lumping fire and rescue in with police and crime. Quite right too. I've already spoken to the FBU's Regional Secretary, EC Member and General Secretary, and if in the next wave of devolution the Home Office insists on making Metro mayors responsible, I'll push for a separate Fire and Rescue Commissioner so these two totally different blue light services remain separate. Motion 8 from the NEU on the climate emergency. We've already completed our Citizens' Assembly on climate change and are implementing its recommendations. That's democracy in action. Our Space Hive Zero Carbon, Zero Poverty Fund directly supports community initiatives which you can apply for. I've funded the Mayor's Schools Climate Challenge. Primary school kids get to look at fast fashion and biodiversity. Secondary school kids work with engineers addressing real-world climate challenges in the Bring It On programme. And sixth formers can work with real games developers to create climate change computer games. And they'll all be running again next year. Motion 9 from the NEU, Levelling Up Through Education, calls for poverty-proofing the school day. Our £900,000 child poverty prevention programme does exactly that. I invited all the teaching unions to feed in our education bid to central government. I'm in discussions with the Education Secretary to shape the next phase of devolution. And I'll be asking for a better alternative to Ofsted. I can't promise he's going to give it to me, but I do promise I'll make the case backed by strong evidence. And while we're on, we've worked directly with the NEU and the SUWT and Unison to establish a Teachers Cooperative Supply Agency to supply teachers and teaching assistants get a fair deal, including better pay, pensions and continuous professional development. And I've got a £4 million fund ready to capitalise projects like this as soon as they're ready to begin trading. Now legally, of course, it has to be based in the Norfolk Times for me to fund it, but it can trade and support teachers and TAs across the country. Motion 15 from the RMT calls for politicians to support our rail workers. Well, you've seen me time and again, standing with you, campaigning against job cuts for station staff, helping the Churchill cleaners keep their metro passed, standing with you on picket lines, writing in the press and speaking on TV, and making the case directly to the train operating companies via my seat on the Rail North Committee. Motion 18 from Unison speaks about equalities and working closely with politicians. The Regional TUC Secretary has a seat on our Inclusive Economy Board, which shapes programmes helping people with all kinds of disadvantages. Neurodiversity, disabilities, complex needs around substance abuse and domestic abuse. We've directly supported Show Races in the Red Card. And as an employer, we have a gender pay gap of 0. Many talk about it, we've done it. Motion 19 from Unison, fair funding for local government, calls for Metro mayors to help end the cuts to local government. And I never miss an opportunity for lobby for this in print, social media, on the telly, and in meetings with ministers. We've funded local services through our Community Hubs programme and secured extra millions for employability and adult education, and 32 million for brownfield housing, which we work with our local authorities to deliver, and in the middle of negotiating another £1 billion for our region as part of the next wave of devolution. Motions 20 to 21 from Unite call for fair work, not only paying conditions, but also facilities for workers in logistics and safety for hospitality workers. The Norfolk Tyne Good Work Pledge was developed with the trade unions and enlightened employers and underpins all of our investments in job creation. Full accreditation requires trade union recognition, paying a real living wage, building a balanced and diverse workforce, support for career progression, and a ban on repressive practices like fire and rehire. We're actively promoting it, and it now covers over 40,000 workers in the Norfolk Tyne. And we've negotiated with employers. Some of the young people on Kickstarters who were getting the apprentice wage of £4.30 are now getting the real living wage of £9.90 an hour. It doesn't stop there, it's not job done. We're in a dangerous world where poverty is on the increase, racism and bigotry is incited by leading politicians, where the climate emergency is going unchecked, where war is upon us. I could go through the other motions, but there isn't time. But check out my social media on Facebook and Twitter, and you'll see I'm fighting all those causes too. Or sign up to my email newsletter. My job is to make the Norfolk Tyne economy successful. And I define success differently from the Chancellor. I believe in higher wages, secure work, and a green, inclusive economy that puts well-being at its heart. And success is key. Values matter, but so does the ability to deliver. According to the target government set me, by now, I should have created a pipeline of 972 jobs. The actual number is 4,487, plus another 2,679 jobs protected by our investments through COVID. For every pound we invest, we return more than £3 direct to Treasury in payroll taxes alone. So don't let anyone ever tell you that socialist policies don't work. I put trade unions at the heart of everything we do, and proudly say so. Too often Labour politicians have shied away from supporting unions. Trade unionised workplaces are more productive, more innovative, and have lower staff turnover. That's why, when the Tories cut the Union Learn project, I stepped in and funded it, so it's stronger than it was before, with £430,000 for the Northern TUC to help low-paid workers get learning opportunities and earn better wages. That would not have happened without devolution. Does devolution solve all our problems? No, it doesn't. But the more financial independence we can get from central government, the more good we can do. Labour has only been in power nationally for 30 years of the last 122. That's why I push government, and they're offering an enhanced devolution package worth over £1 billion of new money, including the power to take buses back into public control. The deal's not done, I want more. Including a regional wealth fund where we can take equity stakes in local firms to make sure our economy grows in a green and inclusive way. Now, of course, there's some things only national governments can do, and I'm shouting for them. I want a windfall tax on the energy companies. And I'll go you one better, I want to see a wealth tax so we can finally reverse the flow of money away from billionaires and tax havens and back into the public services and the pockets of workers. I want a Labour government that stands with workers and will commit to reversing the anti-trade union laws. I want public services back in public ownership, including rail, mail, energy and water. And I want a government that finally understands that they should listen to the people in the front line, because they know how to do their jobs better than special advisors in Whitehall. I started by talking about the need for political representation. There's a lot of politicians who will promise you something to get you your vote. But when they're elected, well, it's like the Jam song. You choose your leaders and place your trust as the lies wash you down and their promises rust. In the last month alone, I've stood on picket lines with workers from the UCU and the NEU. I've spoken directly with employers to open the way for trade union organisers. In office, I've supported campaigns from Unite, Unison, GMB, the CWU, RMT, ASLEF, NEU, NESUWT, AUE, and there's a standing offer to help any of you when you need me. Because I believe this country will never be safe and prosperous until it's run in the interests of the people who do the work. I've got your back. Solidarity.